Asterisk. The market square was loud with shouts, bright lights, and the sound of chains rattling. The air was heavy with dust and smoke, making every breath taste bitter. On a wooden stage stood a small figure, thin and trembling, a young alien girl. With pale skin and strange silver eyes, her wrists were bound with metal cuffs, and her clothes were torn and dirty. The auctioneer raised his voice, calling out numbers and offers. His words were sharp and cold. Who will take this one? Strong enough to clean, young enough to obey. But the crowd only laughed. Some buyers turned away, others shook their heads. They whispered that she was weak, useless, not worth their money. The girl lowered her head. Her heart felt empty. She had been brought to this stage many times. Each time she was offered for sale. Each time no one wanted her. She was always left behind. Alone, her body was tired, but her spirit was even more broken. From the corner of the stage, the auctioneer shouted again, "Look at those eyes, rare color, rare breed. Take her cheap, no one else will get her this low." Yet no hand was raised. The buyers avoided her gaze as if she were cursed. The girl's mind was filled with fear. She wondered if she would ever leave this place. Maybe she would die chained and forgotten. She thought of the nights when she cried herself to sleep, her small body curled up on the cold floor. She thought of freedom. But freedom was only a dream. In the back of the hall, among the crowd, stood a human man. He was different from the others, tall, with dark clothes and quiet eyes. He had watched the auction from the beginning but had not spoken. His face was calm, but his eyes stayed fixed on the girl. She noticed him. At first she thought he was like the others. Maybe he too would laugh at her. Maybe he would turn away, but he did not. His eyes did not carry cruelty. They carried something she had never seen before, something she could not name. The auctioneer grew impatient. No one? Not even a handful of credits? Worthless creature, I will throw her back with the others. He signaled to the guards to drag her away. The girl's heart sank deeper. Another day of shame, another day of being unwanted. But then, a voice broke. Through the noise, a calm, steady voice. I will take her. The words were simple, but they silenced the crowd. Heads turned. The human had spoken. Everyone stared in shock. The auctioneer frowned. You? Do you even know what you are asking? Foe. She is nothing, a waste of food. She will not work. She will not obey. Why spend money on her? The human stepped forward. His boots echoed against the wooden floor. He looked at the auctioneer with steady eyes. I will pay, he said again. His tone left no room for doubt. The crowd whispered loudly. Some laughed, some sneered. Foolish human, they muttered, spending credits on trash. Others shook their heads confused. Why would anyone want the girl? The girl's heart raced. She could not believe it. Someone had spoken for her. Someone had chosen her. She felt fear and hope fighting inside her chest. What if this was another cruel trick? What if he was worse than the rest? The auctioneer shrugged. Fine, take her then. She is yours. He pushed the girl forward. Her chains clinked as the guards shoved her toward the human. She stumbled, nearly falling, but a strong hand caught her before she hit the ground. The human knelt down to her level. His face was close, his eyes calm. He did not smile, but his touch was gentle as he steadied her. For the first time in her life, the girl felt something strange. It was not pain, not anger, not hate. It was kindness. The hall erupted with laughter and noise. People jeered at the human. Waste of money, worthless buy, they shouted. But he ignored them. He looked at the girl. You are safe now, he whispered. Her lips trembled. She wanted to speak, but no words came. Her throat was dry. Her heart pounded. Was it possible that this man meant what he said? Could she really be safe? The guards unlocked her chains. The cold metal fell from her wrists, leaving red marks on her skin. She rubbed them gently, still in disbelief. The human gave the auctioneer a handful of credits. His expression never changed, calm and firm. The girl followed him slowly, her steps uncertain. The crowd parted, mocking her. Some spat on the ground, some cursed, but she kept her eyes on the back of the human's coat. He was leading her away, away from the stage, away from the chains, outside. The night was cool. The stars were hidden behind dark clouds. The human stopped and looked at her. She stood there shivering. Unable to meet his gaze, he pulled a cloth from his bag and wrapped it around her shoulders. Warmth spread through her. She looked up at him. Her voice was small. "Why?" she whispered. Her question carried all her fear and confusion. Why would anyone want her? Why would anyone save her? The human did not answer, not yet. He only said, "You are free." Those words echoed in her mind. Again and again, she did not know what freedom was. She did not know if she could believe him. But for the first time in her life, she felt a spark of hope, small and fragile, but alive. And as they walked away from the auction house, into the dark streets beyond, she wondered who this human really was, and why he had chosen her. The night air outside the auction house was silent compared to the chaos inside. The girl stood close to the human, still shivering beneath the cloth he had given her. Her silver eyes glanced at him again and again, searching for answers, but finding only mystery. The human walked with calm steps. His face showed no pride and no anger. He acted as though buying a life at an auction was a normal thing. His silence made the girl even more uneasy. She wanted to run, but something inside held her back. At last, they reached a small transport parked near the edge of the market. It was old but strong, with scratches on the metal and burns from past travels. The door slid open with a hiss. The girl froze, fear rushing through her body. Was this the moment when the kindness would end? Would he lock her inside and use her like the others tried to? The human noticed her fear. He did not push her. Instead, he lowered his voice. "You are not a slave anymore." His words were steady. "I did not buy you to own you. I paid to take you away from them." The girl blinked. His words made no sense. "Not a slave?" she whispered. Her voice shook. She had only known chains, orders, and pain to her. Freedom was only a dream spoken in stories. He nodded once. "Not a slave," he repeated. His eyes did not move away from hers. He spoke like a man who meant every word. Slowly, he extended his hand toward her, not grabbing, only offering. Her body trembled. Her mind screamed not to trust, yet her heart pulled her forward. She placed her thin hand into his larger one. The warmth surprised her. His touch was firm but gentle, not like the cruel hands of traders who dragged her across cages. Inside the transport, the air smelled of oil and metal. The human sat at the controls and started the engine. The hum of power filled the cabin. The girl sat in the corner, wrapping the cloth tighter around her shoulders. Her eyes never left him. After a long silence, she spoke again. "Why me?" The words were heavy. She did not understand. There were many others, stronger, prettier. Why take me? The human's face stayed calm. Because they would not have survived much longer. He said quietly, "You still have a chance." Her heart pounded. She could not believe him. A chance for what? She asked, her voice cracked. "A chance to live," he replied simply. He did not explain more. As though the answer itself was enough, the ship lifted into the night sky. The market and auction faded beneath them. The girl pressed her hands to the seat as the stars appeared outside the window. She had never seen them so closely before. Her silver eyes reflected their light. She felt something strange, something she had not felt for years: safety. The human did not stare at her with hunger or cruelty. He did not raise his hand to strike her. He simply flew the ship forward. Still, her doubts clawed at her. "What will you do with me?" she whispered. Fear still lived deep inside her heart. The human glanced at her. His voice stayed calm. "First, I will feed you," he said. "Then you will rest. After that, you will decide what to do." The words shocked her. No one had ever given her a choice. She had always been told what to do, where to go, how to act. The idea of deciding for herself was terrifying. When the ship reached orbit, The human opened a small storage box and pulled out food, simple bread and dried meat. He placed it on the table between them. "Eat," he said gently. The girl stared at it. Her stomach growled with hunger. She had been fed scraps for days, but she was afraid. Afraid it was poison. Afraid it was a trick. The human leaned back in his seat, his arms crossed. "If I wanted to hurt you, I would not have brought you here," he said quietly. His voice was calm, not angry. Slowly, carefully, she reached for the bread. She bit into it, her eyes filled with tears. The taste was plain, but to her it was the sweetest thing she had ever eaten. She ate quickly, afraid it would be taken away. The human watched, but did not stop her. He only handed her a cup of water, clear and cold. She drank until she coughed, her thin shoulders shaking for the first time. Warmth spread through her empty body. Her chest ached with a strange emotion. "Gratitude," she whispered softly, almost afraid to speak. "Thank you." The human nodded. "Rest now," he said. He pointed to a small bed in the corner of the cabin. "It is yours. No chains, no locks, just sleep." Her eyes widened. She looked at the bed like it was a treasure. Slowly, she walked toward it. She lay down carefully, half expecting the human to shout or strike her. But he did not. The blanket was soft, warmer than anything she had ever felt. Her tired body gave in. Her eyes closed. She fell asleep with crumbs still on her lips. The human sat in silence, watching the stars outside the window, his mind heavy with thoughts. He had made a choice, one that would change both their lives. He knew danger would follow. He knew the traitors would not forget. But as he glanced at the girl sleeping peacefully for the first time, he whispered to himself, it was the right choice. And somewhere in her dreams, the girl heard those words. They wrapped around her like the blanket, fragile but real. The hum of the small ship carried through the silence. The girl stirred from her sleep, her body still weak but warmer than before. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then her eyes opened and saw the ceiling above her, smooth metal instead of stone, no chains holding her down, no whip waiting in the dark. She sat up quickly, her heart racing. Fear was the first thing that always came. Fear of punishment, fear of commands. But no harsh voice shouted at her. Instead, she heard the steady sound of the engines and the soft clicking of buttons from the front of the cabin. The human sat at the controls, his shoulders relaxed, his eyes watching the stars beyond the glass. He did not notice her at first. Or maybe he only pretended not to notice. The girl touched her wrists. The red marks from the chains were still there, deep and ugly. She rubbed them softly. Her heart felt heavy. Could she really believe she was free? She whispered to herself, almost afraid of the answer. "No chains." The human turned then, his eyes calm. He saw her rubbing the scars. Without a word, he stood and walked to a small box. He pulled out a thin jar of ointment and set it on the table near her. "For the burns," he said simply. She looked at the jar, confused. No one had ever cared for her wounds. They had only laughed when she cried. She hesitated, her hand hovering. Finally, she picked it up and touched the cool cream to her wrists. The pain eased, just a little. The human did not push her with questions. He returned to the pilot's seat. Only after a long silence did he speak. "They hurt you for too long," he said quietly. "But those chains are gone now." Her voice trembled as she asked, "Why do you say I am free?" Her eyes filled with doubt. "Chains are more than metal. They live here." She tapped her chest gently. "I cannot remove them." The human looked at her, his eyes sharp but kind. "Freedom begins with choice," he said, "and now you have one. You can stay with me, or you can leave when we find a safe place." The words shocked her. She had never been given a choice. Her whole life had been commands, orders shouted, strikes delivered when she disobeyed. The idea of choosing made her heart race. It was too big, too heavy. She shook her head. "I don't know what to do." "Then rest," he answered simply. "You don't need to decide now." She stared at him, searching his face, waiting for the lie. but there was none. His words were steady, not false promises, not tricks. Her stomach growled again. The human pulled out more food, this time fruit and small slices of cooked meat. He placed them before her. "Eat slowly," he said. She ate, careful at first, then faster as hunger took over. He gave her water again, and she drank deeply. When she finished, she leaned back. Her eyes closing, she whispered, "I thought." Food always came with pain, work first, beatings first, then scraps, but you give it freely, he replied. Food is not a chain. It is life. You deserve to live. The words pressed into her heart, unfamiliar and strange. She wrapped herself in the cloth again, her silver eyes watching him carefully. "You speak like no one I have met," she said softly. The human gave a small shrug. "Maybe no one told you before," he said. The girl lowered her head, her mind filled with memories of the cages, the dark rooms, the sound of others crying. She remembered the day her family was taken. She remembered being left alone. She whispered, "I was never worth anything." The human's hand tightened on the controls. His voice grew firm. "That is a lie they forced on you. Your worth is not theirs to decide." She looked at him, her chest tight. Tears filled her eyes but did not fall. She wanted to believe him, but the weight of years kept her chained inside. The ship drifted through the dark. Stars glimmered like tiny fires in the endless black. The girl pressed her forehead against the glass window. For the first time she saw freedom not as a word but as a space. "Wide and open," she whispered. "It feels too big," the human answered. From behind her, "It is big, but you will grow into it." She turned slowly. His eyes met hers. He was not smiling, but his presence felt solid, like a wall against the storm. For a moment, she allowed herself to believe, but deep inside, fear still whispered, "What if they come back for me?" She asked, "What if they take me again?" The human's jaw tightened. His gaze turned hard. "They will not take you," he said. "Not while I am here." His voice carried a promise stronger than steel. The girl felt something shift inside her. Not full trust, not yet, but the smallest seed of hope. As she lay back down to rest again, her mind battled with chains of the past and the fragile light of freedom. She touched her wrists one more time. The marks were still there, but the cuffs were gone, and in the silence of the ship, for the first time, she thought maybe the human was right, maybe freedom had begun. The ship floated through the silent dark of space. Engines hummed like a steady heartbeat. The girl sat near the window, her silver eyes wide as she looked out. Stars stretched across the black sky like rivers of fire. For the first time, she was not locked in a cage but free to see the endless heavens. Her thin fingers pressed against the glass. "So many," she whispered. Her voice carried both wonder and fear. She had never seen the universe beyond the walls of her prison. The cold human watched her from the pilot's seat. His hands moved over the controls with practiced ease. He had traveled these routes many times. But seeing her awe made the stars seem new even to him. He said softly, "These lights are old, older than both of us, but they keep shining. No matter what." She turned to him, her eyes reflecting the stars. "Do you think I can keep shining too?" she asked. The question trembled on her lips. The human looked at her scars, her fragile body, and then at the strength in her gaze. "Yes," he said simply. His answer carried no hesitation. The girl lowered her head. She wanted to believe, but doubt still lived in her chest like a shadow. Hours passed in silence. The ship drifted past broken moons and glowing nebulae. The girl leaned against the seat, her head tilting. Slowly, her voice came again. "Where are we going?" The human glanced at the map on the screen. "Away from hunters, away from cages. I know a place where no traitor will find you." Her chest tightened. "And after?" she asked. He shrugged lightly. "After you choose." Those words shook her again. Choice still felt like a heavy stone she did not know how to carry. She whispered, "What if I choose wrong?" The human leaned back, his voice steady. "Then you learn. That is what freedom means. You are allowed to fall, but you are also allowed to rise." The girl looked at him, her heart raced. No one had ever spoken to her like that. No one had given her such power. Later, he showed her around the ship, small rooms filled with tools, boxes and supplies, nothing rich, nothing grand, but all clean and safe. He opened a storage locker and pulled out a folded blanket. He handed it to her. "Yours now," he said. Her hands shook as she took it. She clutched it to her chest like a treasure. That night, she lay on the small bed in the corner cabin. The blanket around her, her mind drifted between dreams and memories. The screams of the auction hall still haunted her. But now another voice pushed through, calm and steady. "You are free." She woke later to a strange sound, a sharp alarm flashing on the panel near the door. Her heart jumped. Fear shot through her veins. She rushed to the cockpit where the human sat, his eyes fixed on the radar. "What is it?" she asked, her voice thin. He did not look away. "A patrol ship, traitors perhaps." His jaw tightened. "They scan this sector sometimes, searching for runaways." Her breath caught. "They will take me back." Her whole body froze, shaking. The human turned to her, his voice firm. "Look at me." She raised her silver eyes. Tears forming, he said, "I will not let them take you." He pressed buttons quickly. The ship veered into a nearby asteroid field. Rocks spun past, glowing in reflected starlight. The girl gripped the edge of the seat, her heart pounding. Every crash of stone against the hull made her flinch. But the human was steady, guiding the ship through the narrow gaps. After long, tense minutes, the alarm faded. The patrol signal disappeared from the radar. The girl's body slumped in relief. She gasped for air. "You risked everything for me," she whispered. He looked at her calmly. It was not a risk, it was a choice. Her chest ached with emotions she could not name. Trust, hope, fear, gratitude, all tangled inside her. When the danger had passed, he placed a small device in her hands. It glowed softly. "This is a translator," he explained. "With it, you can speak to anyone in the galaxy. No one can silence your voice again." Her fingers shook as she held it. "My voice?" she whispered. The words felt unreal. Her voice had always been ignored, punished, silenced. Now it could be heard. She pressed the device to her ear as he showed her. When she spoke again, her words carried a clearer sound, flowing smooth. Her eyes widened. She laughed softly, a sound she had almost forgotten. The human gave a small nod. "Good," he said. "The universe should hear you." The girl pressed the device close, her silver eyes glowing with the reflection of stars. For the first time, her chains felt a little lighter. As the ship sailed deeper into space, the human charted a course toward a hidden colony, a place where no slavers ruled. The girl sat beside him, her heart torn between fear of the past and the fragile hope of tomorrow. She whispered to herself, "This journey, it feels like the first step." The human heard her but said nothing. He only adjusted the ship's course. Stars stretched ahead like an endless path, and together they began the long journey forward. The ship drifted in the silence of space, but peace never lasted long. The girl's silver eyes followed every shadow outside the window, afraid that hunters would appear again. Her heart still carried the weight of the cages, even though the chains were gone. The human worked quietly at the controls, his face calm, but his mind sharp. He knew that slavers did not forgive. They would notice a missing body from the auction, and sooner or later, they would send someone to reclaim what they called property. The girl's voice trembled as she asked, "Will they come for me?" The human turned his gaze toward her, his tone steady. "Yes, they will try." She froze, fear clutching her chest. "That I should leave, I bring danger to you." But he shook his head. "Listen, danger follows because they fear hope. You are not a burden. You are a reason to fight." Her lips parted, shocked by his words. Never before had anyone called her a reason to fight. Later that night, the human sat at the ship's comms. A blinking red light flashed on the screen. He opened the message. Static filled the air. Then a harsh voice broke through. "The girl belongs to us. Return her, or we will hunt you across the stars." The girl shrank back, fear returning like a storm. Her body trembled. Memories of cages and whips clawed at her. "They found us," she whispered. The human's jaw tightened. "No," he said firmly. "They only think they have, but we will stay ahead." He switched the comms off and turned to her. "Do not believe their words. You do not belong to them." Still, she could not rest. In her dreams, she saw the auction hall. The laughing faces, the cruel hands dragging her back. She woke with a cry, sweat covering her face. The human stood near her bed, his presence steady. "It was only a dream," he said. She shook her head. "Dreams feel real when you live them." He crouched beside her, his voice low. "Do you trust me to protect you?" Her silver eyes glistened with tears. She wanted to trust, but fear was heavy. Slowly she nodded. "I want to," she whispered. The next day, the radar beeped. A ship appeared on the edge of the system. Not a patrol, but a hunter. It flew with speed and hunger. Following their trail, the girl saw the signal and panic rose. "They are here," she cried. "They will take me back." The human pressed a button and shifted the ship into faster drive. Stars blurred into streaks of light. The girl clutched the seat, her heart racing. But even with speed, the hunters pressed close. Their message blared through again. "Return her, human. She is ours. This is your last warning," the human replied. Calmly, his voice strong. "She is no one's but her own. If you come, you will regret it." The hunters laughed through the comms. A cruel, cold sound. "We will see how long you can protect your prize." The girl's chest ached. She whispered, "Why do you risk so much? You could leave me. You could escape alone." The human looked at her with steady eyes. "Because your life matters. If I abandon you, I abandon myself." Her breath caught. His words sank deep. For the first time, she began to believe she was not worthless. The chase continued for hours. The ship weaved through asteroid belts and drifting debris. Every crash and shake made the girl cry out. Yet the human never lost focus, his hands steady on the controls. Finally, they slipped into a hidden lane, a narrow passage through broken rock fields. The hunter ship lost their signal for a moment. The silence returned, but the tension remained heavy. The girl slumped against the wall, tears falling down her cheeks. "I am the reason for this. They will never stop." The human crouched before her, his voice firm but gentle. "Listen to me. They chase because they fear. Not because you are weak, but because you are strong enough to live free." Her heart pounded. She whispered, "Strong?" "Yes," he said. "Strong. You survived cages, hunger, beatings, and still you breathe. That is strength. More than any hunter will ever understand." His words lit something inside her. Fragile but glowing, she wiped her tears, her eyes still wet but brighter than before. That night, as she lay under the blanket, she thought of his words. The hunters were shadows of her past. They would not stop easily. But maybe she could stop running inside her own heart for the first time. She whispered to herself, "I am not theirs. I am me, the human." Hearing her soft words, smiled faintly in the dark. He knew the fight was not over. Shadows were gathering, but the girl had taken her first step out of them. And that made all the difference. Asterisk. The quiet hum of the engines could not hide the tension. Inside the small ship, the girl sat near the window, her hands gripping the blanket tightly. She could feel the fear crawling in her chest. Shadows of her past whispered that hunters always win, that slaves never escape. The human sat at the controls, his eyes sharp as he scanned the radar. A red dot flashed again. The hunters had returned. Stronger and closer. Their ship was larger, armed with heavy cannons. "They found us," the girl whispered. Her voice broke like glass. "Yes," the human replied calmly. "And this time they will not chase us away. This time they will fight. And so will we." Her silver eyes widened. "Fight? Against them? We cannot win." He turned toward her, his gaze steady. "I told you before, you are not a burden. You are a reason to fight. If we run forever, The chains will always follow, but if we stand now, we can break them. The girl's hands trembled. She wanted to believe him, but the fear of the cages still pressed heavy on her heart. The hunter's ship drew closer. Lights flared as they powered their weapons. A harsh voice echoed through the comms. "Human, this is your last chance. Return the girl, or we will tear your ship apart." The human pressed the come button. His voice was strong. "You will not take her, not while I breathe." The hunter laughed. "Then prepare to die." A blast of energy shot across the void. The human twisted the ship sharply. The beam missed by inches. The girl cried out as the cabin shook. Sparks fell from the ceiling. The human's hands moved with speed, guiding the ship between asteroids, but the hunters followed close, firing again and again. Explosions lit up the dark like firestorms. The girl gripped the seat, her body shaking. Yet as she watched the human fight for her, something inside her shifted. He was risking his life. Not for gain, not for power, but for her, a girl once called worthless. "Tell me what to do," she cried suddenly. "I want to help." The human glanced at her, surprised. "Are you sure?" Her silver eyes burned with new fire. "Yes," he nodded quickly, pointing to a control panel. "There, release the counterflare. When they fire, press the red switch." Her fingers hovered. Fear battled with courage. Then she pressed. Bright flares burst from the ship, blinding the hunter's sensors. Their next shot went wide, crashing harmlessly into empty rock. The human gave a short nod. "Good, again when I say." The hunters roared through comms furious. "You think tricks will save you?" Another blast shook the ship. Metal groaned. Alarms screamed. The girl nearly fell, but she pushed herself back to the panel, her hands trembling but stronger than before. "Now!" The human shouted. She pressed again. More flares burst. The hunter's aim missed once more. Her heart pounded. Fear still clung to her. But now courage pushed through. She was not helpless, not anymore. The human armed the ship's small cannons. He fired back. Shots streaked across the dark, striking the hunter's shields. The enemy ship shook, sparks exploding across its hull. The hunters cursed. "You will pay for this, human." The human's jaw tightened, his eyes sharp as steel. "No," he said. "You will pay for chasing children." The battle raged, explosions painting the black sky with fire. The girl pressed the flares again and again, her small voice whispering, "We can win, we can win." Finally, the human found his chance. He aimed for the hunter's engines and fired. The blast cut through their shields. Their ship spun out of control, smoke pouring from the rear. The comms filled with shouts of panic. The hunters tried to regain control, but their ship drifted helplessly into the asteroid field. A massive rock struck, tearing through metal. The hunter ship broke apart, flames spreading across the dark. Silence followed. Only the hum of the small ship remained. The girl collapsed into her seat, her chest heaving. She could not believe it. They had survived. The human turned to her, his voice softer now. "You did well." Her silver eyes filled with tears. I helped," she whispered. "I was not useless." He crouched beside her, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. "You were brave," he said. "Without you, we might not be here." Her heart swelled. For so long she had been called worthless, weak trash, but tonight she had fought. And she had mattered. As she wiped her tears, a new strength filled her chest. She whispered, "I will never go back to chains." The human gave a small nod. "Good," he said, "because chains fear those who stand." The stars glimmered outside the window, brighter than ever before. The girl leaned against the glass, still trembling but alive. Her reflection stared back, no longer a broken slave, but someone beginning to believe in freedom. And though she did not know what lay ahead, she knew one truth: with the human at her side, she would never be helpless again. The battle was over. The silence of space wrapped around the small ship like a blanket. The girl sat near the window, her chest still rising and falling quickly. Her hands trembled, but inside her heart, A strange warmth was growing. For the first time, she had not only survived, she had fought back. The human checked the controls, his face calm though the ship carried new scars. Sparks still hissed from damaged wires, but the engines hummed steady. He leaned back, letting out a quiet breath. The girl looked at him, her silver eyes glowing faintly from the starlight. "We won," she whispered. The words felt unreal on her lips. He nodded once. "Yes, we won." Her heart raced as she thought of the hunters destroyed in the asteroid field. For so long, she had believed that slavers always won, that chains always returned. Yet here she was, alive and free. She touched her wrists, the scars still fresh but no longer burning. Slowly she whispered, "Maybe the chains are finally gone." The human turned toward her, his gaze steady. "The metal is gone. The rest will take time, but you are stronger than you know." Her lips trembled. She lowered her head, whispering, "I was afraid, but you never let me fall." He shook his head gently. "No, you stood. You fought beside me. That was your choice, not mine." His words sank deep into her heart. The girl felt something new inside her pride. For the first time in her life, she felt like more than a shadow. Hours later, the ship broke free of the asteroid field. Ahead lay a quiet planet, blue and green, circling a golden sun. The human pointed toward it. "We will rest there. It is safe. No traitors, no chains, only people who live free." The girl's eyes widened, her chest filled with wonder. "A place where no one will take me." "Yes," he said firmly. "A place where you decide who you are." As they descended into the planet's atmosphere, the view stole her breath. Vast forests stretched across valleys, rivers sparkled like silver. Threads, birds with bright wings soared in the sky. The air itself seemed alive. The ship landed gently on a grassy field near a village. People gathered at a distance. Some were human, some alien, all living side by side. No whips, no chains, only laughter and work. The girl stepped off the ship. Her bare feet touched the soft earth. She bent down, her fingers sinking into the grass. Tears filled her eyes. "It feels real," she whispered. "Not like a dream." The human stood beside her, watching her carefully. "It is real," he said. A child from the village ran forward, smiling, handing the girl a small flower. She froze, unsure how to react. Slowly she took it, her lips curved into a shy smile. The villagers welcomed them, offering food and shelter. The girl sat near a fire that night, listening to voices not filled with cruelty, but warmth. Her heart swelled with feelings she could not name. Later, she sat with the human under the stars, her voice soft. "Why did you do it? Why save me when everyone else turned away?" The human looked at the sky for a long moment. Then he answered, "Because no one deserves to live in chains. Because kindness is the only true strength humanity has." Her silver eyes glistened. She whispered, "Then you are stronger than any hunter." He shook his head slightly. "No. Strength is when someone broken learns to stand again. That is you." Tears slipped down her cheeks, but they were not of sorrow. They were of release. For the first time, she believed she was more than what the slavers had called her. The fire crackled softly. The girl leaned closer, whispering, "Then, if I am free, can I choose one thing now?" He turned to her. "Yes, anything." Her small voice trembled. "Can I stay with you?" The human's eyes softened. He gave a slow nod. "If that is what you want, then yes." Relief and joy washed over her. She smiled for the first time in years. A real smile, fragile but bright. She whispered, "Then I am not alone anymore." He placed a hand gently on her shoulder. Never again. Above them, the sky turned pale with the light of dawn. The first rays of the sun spread across the land, golden and pure. The girl stood, holding the flower close. Her chains had been broken, her past still heavy but no longer in control. As the sun rose higher, she whispered to herself, "I am free." The human stood beside her, silent but proud. Together, they watched the new dawn, knowing that their journey was only beginning. But for now, freedom was enough, and in that moment, the girl was no longer the unsold slave at an auction. She was someone reborn under the light of a new day.